They say every vow is a seed. Once planted, it grows in the dark. Sir Cael swore his loyalty beneath the dying light of a burning throne, and the earth answered with thorns. Now, bound by a promise that will not die, he wanders through the ruins of a kingdom that forgot his name, chasing redemption in a world turned to ash. But when faith rots and love turns to dust, what remains of a knight's honor, the vow or the man who made it? And so begins the story written in ruin and devotion, the tale of vows of ash and thorn.
The kingdom of Thornvale was unlike any other, bound by a tradition as ancient as the roots of its forests. Here, knights did not merely wield swords or wear armor. They bound their souls to living thorn trees, forging a sacred covenant that intertwined flesh and spirit with nature's fierce resilience. The thorns were both shield and shackle, blooming with crimson flowers that whispered of honor, sacrifice, and the eternal vigil of the kingdom's protectors. Sir Cael Thorn stood apart from this solemn order, a shadow against the vibrant life of the thorn groves. His tall, lean frame was cloaked in a worn traveler's mantle, the fabric tattered from exile and hardship. A jagged scar traced down his left cheek, a testament to battles fought and lost not just in the physical realm, but within the chambers of his own haunted conscience. His eyes, once bright with the fire of youthful valor, now held the weight of regret and a brooding darkness that seemed to seep from his very soul. The echoes of his disgrace still haunted the stone walls of the kingdom. Once a celebrated knight, Caelan's name had been spoken in reverence. Now it was tainted, a hushed whisper among courtiers and common folk alike. His failed mission had cost many lives, including comrades he once called brothers. Betrayal and misfortune had conspired to cast him out, leaving him an exile at the kingdom's edge, where the thorn trees grew wild and untamed. Despite the heavy burden of guilt and the cold isolation of exile, Caelan's heart burned with a desperate hope. Redemption was not a gift for the fallen, it was a prize to be wrested with blood, sweat, and sacrifice. He had heard the whispers, the rumors carried by traveling merchants and shadowed voices in taverns, the legend of the Brambleheart tree. The Brambleheart was no ordinary thorn tree. It was said to be cursed, its thorns sharp enough to pierce not only flesh but the soul itself, killing those who dared to bind with it. Yet those few who survived its deadly embrace were granted power unmatched, a strength that could topple kings and inspire legends. The price was steep, the risk nearly certain death, but for a man like Caelan, honor lost was worth any cost. On a chill morning, beneath a sky heavy with the promise of rain, Caelan lingered near a cluster of wild thorn bushes. His fingers traced the sharp edges of the thorns, each prick a reminder of the oath he once swore and the path he must now walk alone. The kingdom behind him was a tapestry of stone and shadow, the thorn trees standing as silent sentinels to a world that had turned its back on him. Inside the bustling heart of the kingdom, knights gathered beneath their own thorn trees, their souls glowing faintly as the living wood pulsed with life. The air was thick with reverence. Every bloom of the crimson flowers spoke of sacrifice and the unbreakable bond between man and nature. It was a sacred tradition that shaped the very soul of Thornvale. Yet, for Caelan, this tradition was a chain he sought to rebuild, stronger and purer than before. His journey would be perilous, fraught with physical danger and spiritual torment. The Brambleheart awaited, a dark and twisted giant among the groves, its branches blooming with deadly beauty. To bind with it was to dance with death itself. As he turned from the wild thorns and faced the uncertain road ahead, a flicker of determination ignited within his chest. The kingdom might have cast him out, but Caelan was resolved to return not as a broken exile, but as a thorn-bound knight renewed by sacrifice and unyielding will. The path was dark, the stakes deadly, but the promise of redemption was a light he could not ignore. The tavern was thick with smoke and murmurs, the low hum of voices weaving a tapestry of half-truths and unsettled fears. Sir Cael Thorn sat alone at a table near the back, his lean frame hunched over a half-empty mug of ale. The flickering candlelight cast shadows across his weathered features, accentuating the scar that ran jagged down his left cheek, a cruel reminder of battles fought and honor lost. He was a man haunted, not only by the ghost of the failed mission that had shattered his standing among the knights, but also by the silence that followed. The kingdom, once so vibrant with the pride of its thorn-bound warriors, now whispered of his disgrace as if it were a contagion. Yet even in exile, Caelan's eyes burned with a quiet fire, an ember of hope and determination refusing to be extinguished. The heavy wooden door creaked open, and a tall figure stepped inside, shaking off the chill of the evening air. Sir Joran, broad-shouldered and brash, carried an energy that contrasted sharply with Caelan's brooding stillness. His cropped dark hair was tousled, and a perpetual grin played on his lips, though it faltered as his eyes met Caelan's. Without a word, he approached the table and slid into the seat opposite his old comrade. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Joran said, breaking the silence with his usual candor. Caelan's gaze didn't waver. "Perhaps I have." Joran leaned forward, the flicker of candlelight catching the lines of worry etched into his face. "It's been too long since we faced each other without swords drawn." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken memories. Their failed mission, the ambush that had claimed the lives of their comrades and stained Caelan's honor, was a wound neither could forget. Yet while Joran sought to mend their fractured friendship with familiar bravado, Caelan remained guarded, his mistrust a barrier forged from guilt and sorrow. "You still blame me," Caelan said quietly. "I blame the betrayal," Joran replied, voice low, "not you. But we both know who pulled the strings." A shadow crossed Caelan's face. The name of Lord Maric Vane was never far from their thoughts, the sharp-featured noble whose cold eyes gleamed with ambition as he plotted to seize control of the thorn-binding tradition, and, with it, the kingdom's throne. Joran's grin faded. "Maric's influence runs deeper than we realized. He set the trap that shattered us." Caelan's fists clenched. "And the kingdom still suffers under his shadow." Outside, the murmur of villagers drifted through the tavern's open window. Whispers of the Brambleheart, the cursed thorn tree, said to kill its hosts but grant unmatched power to those who survive, wove through the night air, stirring something restless within Caelan. He rose, the weight of his decision pressing on him like the thorns themselves. "If there is a chance to reclaim what we lost, I will take it. Even if it means facing death itself." Joran stood as well, placing a rough hand on Caelan's shoulder. "Then you won't walk that path alone." But the road ahead was fraught with peril. In the shadowed halls of the castle, Lord Maric Vane convened with his loyal knights, his voice a cold whisper of command and control. His dark armor, adorned with blackened thorns, gleamed ominously in the torchlight, a symbol of the corruption choking the kingdom's soul. "The thorn-binding tradition is ours to wield," Maric declared. "With Caelan discredited, the throne will soon be within our grasp." Yet even as Maric's plans unfolded, the seeds of resistance took root. Caelan's resolve, tempered by betrayal and loss, was beginning to bloom anew, fragile but fierce. Later that night, Caelan found himself wandering near a dense thicket of thorn bushes. The air was cool and crisp, the rustling leaves whispering secrets of the land. The scent of earth and sap mingled with the faint hum of distant nocturnal creatures. His fingers brushed lightly against the rough bark, a silent communion between man and nature. The whispers of the Brambleheart's curse echoed in his mind, a siren's call laced with danger and promise. Could he truly endure the deadly bond? Could his fractured spirit withstand the sacrifice? A sudden noise startled him, a branch snapping underfoot. Caelan's hand went to the hilt of his sword, eyes scanning the shadows. But it was only the wind, carrying with it the distant murmur of the kingdom's unrest. He closed his eyes, drawing strength from the earth beneath him. "I will face whatever comes," he vowed. The path to redemption was steep and thorny, but Cael Thorn was no stranger to pain. As dawn approached, the echoes of betrayal faded into resolve, and the knight's journey toward the cursed Brambleheart began in earnest. Yet questions lingered in the burgeoning light. Could trust be rebuilt? Would sacrifice bloom into salvation? Or would the thorns claim him as they had so many before? Only time would tell, and the kingdom held its breath. The heavy wooden door creaked softly as Cael pushed it open, stepping into the dimly lit interior of Elysia's cottage. The air was thick with the scent of dried herbs, lavender, sage, and something earthier that reminded him of the thorn groves. Flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the walls, where bundles of pressed leaves and thorny branches were meticulously arranged, each a testament to the ancient knowledge held within these walls. Elysia rose from a woven chair by the hearth, her slender frame silhouetted against the warm glow of the fire. Her long auburn hair fell in gentle waves over her shoulders, and her eyes' deep emerald pools held a mixture of concern and resolve as they fixed on Cael. "You have come, then," she said softly, her voice steady but carrying the weight of unspoken warnings. Cael nodded, his scarred cheek tightening. "I must know what I face if I am to bind with the Brambleheart." She gestured for him to sit, and as he lowered himself onto a wooden stool, the faint creak of the floorboards seemed to echo the gravity of his decision. Elysia reached for a small wooden box on a nearby shelf, opening it to reveal a collection of thorns, some brittle and pale, others dark and gleaming. She lifted a delicate thorn from a lesser binding tree, holding it between her fingers as if it were both a treasure and a threat. "The Brambleheart is unlike any other," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Its thorns are alive in ways that defy simple understanding. When a knight bonds with it, the tree pierces not just flesh but soul. Many who have tried have perished, their spirits entwined forever in its deadly embrace." Caelan's gaze dropped to the floor, memories of comrades lost and his own failure gnawing at his heart. "I have no choice," he said quietly. "I must reclaim my honor, even if it costs me everything." Elysia's eyes softened, but the sorrow in her voice was unmistakable. "Sacrifice is the core of the oath you seek to take. But remember, not all sacrifice blooms into redemption. Some thorns only bleed." She moved to a small table and produced a vial of thick, amber-colored salve. "This will ease the pain and hasten healing, though it cannot protect against the curse itself." And this she handed him, a talisman carved with intertwining thorn branches. "A reminder that your bond is not just with the tree, but with the land and those who came before you." Cael accepted the gifts with a solemn nod. "Thank you, Elysia. Your counsel is a light in this darkness." She smiled faintly, the first warmth had seen from her. "Be careful, Sir Cael. The path you choose is narrow and fraught with peril. But if anyone can walk it and return, it is you." Outside, the wind whispered through the thorn bushes, as if the branches themselves were listening. Cael stood and cast one last glance around the humble cottage, feeling the weight of his impending choice settle deep within his bones. As he stepped back into the fading light of dusk, a quiet oath formed on his lips, not just to his honor, but to the thorn-bound kingdom that had cast him aside. The road ahead was shrouded in pain and uncertainty, but beneath it all, a fragile hope began to bloom. To be continued. The sky above the kingdom's heart was a heavy gray, the kind of overcast that pressed quietly against the bones and seemed to hold the breath of the world still. Sir Cael Thorn stood alone at the edge of the city's last stone wall, cloak drawn tight against the chilly wind that carried the tang of earth and distant rain. Behind him, the familiar streets hummed faintly with life, but his gaze was fixed outward toward the untamed wilds where the thorn groves sprawled like a dark sea of twisted branches and shadow. Beyond these groves lay his uncertain path, one few knights dared tread. Exile was a bitter cloak, heavier than any armor Cael had worn in his years of service. Each step away from the kingdom was a step deeper into the wilderness of his own remorse. His scarred hand brushed absently over the hilt of his sword, the cold steel a faint reminder of the battles lost, the comrades fallen, and the honor shattered. The mission that had stained his name was a wound that festered in memory, a betrayal woven by unseen hands. Yet, beneath the weight of despair, a spark of resolve kindled a desperate hope to reclaim what was lost. The thorn groves loomed ahead, a labyrinth of gnarled trunks and sharp, blooming thorns that seemed to writhe in the dim light like living serpents. The air grew thick with the scent of resin and damp earth, an ancient, primal perfume that whispered of secrets buried beneath bark and soil. Cael stepped forward cautiously, the soft crunch of leaves and brittle twigs his only companions. It was then that the figure appeared emerging from the shadows as if conjured by the very forest itself. The old thornkeeper was a man shaped by time and solitude, his frame bent but sturdy, clothed in robes stitched with thorny vines that seemed almost part of his flesh. His eyes, sharp and glimmering beneath a hood woven from twisted branches, held a depth that unsettled and intrigued. "You walk a path few choose," the thornkeeper's voice rasped, low and steady like the creaking of ancient wood. "The Brambleheart's embrace is no gentle thing. It demands sacrifice beyond flesh and blood, an oath sealed in pain and bloom." Cael met the old man's gaze, the weight of those words settling over him like a shroud. "I seek redemption," he said quietly. "I will bear whatever burden it takes." The thornkeeper nodded slowly, stepping closer, the faint scent of moss and decay clinging to him. "Beware the thorns that bloom," he warned. "Not all who bind with the tree survive, and even those who do find their souls forever changed, scarred, and blossomed alike." Questions churned in Caelan's mind, tangled with the knot of doubts he carried like a chain around his heart. Could he trust this cryptic guardian? Could he trust himself? The past clawed at his resolve, whispering fears of failure and loss. Yet the path behind was closed, and the only way forward was through the wild embrace of the thorn. As the thornkeeper's figure melted back into the shadows, Cael pressed onward, the thorny underbrush clutching at his cloak and skin. Each step a sting that reminded him of the cost ahead. The forest around him seemed alive with silent watchfulness, the rustling leaves like murmurs of forgotten oaths and ancient power. Night crept over the groves, the moon casting a pale light that danced through the tangled canopy. In a small clearing, Cael paused, breathing deep the cold, sharp air. The silence was profound, broken only by the distant call of a nightbird and the faint crackle of dry leaves beneath his boots. Here, in this fragile stillness, he felt the first fragile thread of peace, a momentary reprieve before the storm within and without. His fingers brushed a stray thorn embedded in his forearm, a subtle reminder of the bond he would soon forge. The Brambleheart awaited, its dark limbs twisted and blooming with deadly beauty, promising power and peril entwined. Caelan's heart beat steady beneath the weight of his oath. The exile's path was no longer just a journey, it was a crucible, a test of spirit and soul. And as the wind whispered through the thorny branches, carrying the scent of sacrifice and hope, he stepped deeper into the wilds, ready to face whatever price the bond would demand. Yet even in this solitude, shadows lingered, echoes of betrayal and the looming threat of Lord Marik's ambition. The thorn-bound kingdom held its breath, waiting to see if its fallen knight could bloom anew, or be consumed by the very thorns he sought to master. The path was perilous, the dangers many, and the cost unknown. But Caelan's resolve did not waver. With each painful step through the thorny wilds, He moved closer to the fate that awaited one forged in sacrifice, steeped in ancient oath, and crowned by the blooming thorns of the bramble heart. And so, beneath the cold gaze of the stars and the watchful eyes of the ancient trees, the disgraced knight's journey into exile and redemption truly began. The forest around Cael was no longer the familiar kingdom he had known. It had become a labyrinth of twisting, thorn-laden branches and shadows that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly life. Each step he took was measured, careful to avoid the cruel thorns that jutted from every low-hanging limb like nature's own barbs, as if warning trespassers away. The scent of damp earth mixed with the sharp, almost metallic tang of sap filled the air, thickening with every breath he drew. He paused, wiping sweat from his brow despite the coolness that clung to the grove. The distant cry of a solitary hawk cut through the dense canopy, a lonely sound that echoed the emptiness gnawing at his heart. This land was sacred, marked by oaths forged in blood and sacrifice, but it was also unforgiving. Caelan's fingers brushed against a thorn bush, its sharp tips pricking his skin, a small but constant reminder that this journey was not meant to be easy. Memories surfaced unbidden, the faces of fallen comrades, the weight of promises broken, and the sting of betrayal that had pushed him into exile. Yet beneath that pain burned a stubborn ember of hope, the same that had driven him beyond the borders of the known kingdom into this perilous wilderness. To reclaim honor, he had to face the Brambleheart, the cursed thorn tree whispered about in fearful tones. As twilight descended, the grove transformed. Shadows thickened, weaving between the twisted branches like creeping fingers. The air grew colder, and an eerie silence settled, broken only by the rustle of leaves, stirred by a restless wind. Caelan found shelter beneath a gnarled root, the bark rough against his back. He closed his eyes, focusing on the oath that bound him, and every night, before him the unyielding promise to protect and endure no matter the cost. In the stillness, visions came unbidden, nights long past, their spirits entwined with thorn trees, their faces etched with triumph and torment. Some had thrived, their souls blooming like the thorns that adorned their bonded trees, while others had succumbed to the curse, their bodies and minds claimed by the very life they embraced. The weight of these legacies pressed upon Caelan's shoulders, but he refused to yield. A sudden movement drew his attention, a figure stepping from the shadows. The old thornkeeper emerged, his presence as weathered and enigmatic as the ancient trees themselves. His eyes, sharp and unblinking beneath the hood, met Caelan's with a knowing intensity. "You tread a path few dare," the thornkeeper rasped, voice gravelly yet steady. "The Brambleheart does not grant power without exacting a price. Remember, the oath you swear binds not just your soul, but the land itself. Sacrifice is the thorn's true gift." Caelan nodded, absorbing the cryptic counsel. "I am ready to bear whatever comes, if it means reclaiming what was lost." The thornkeeper's gaze softened slightly. "Then look well, for the tree awaits. Not all who seek the Brambleheart return, but those who do are changed forever." With dawn breaking, the grove was bathed in a pale, silvery light that filtered through the dense canopy. And there, rising before him like a dark monolith, stood the Brambleheart. Its bark was a deep, almost blackened hue, twisted and knotted as if shaped by centuries of torment. Clusters of vivid red blooms clung to its limbs, pulsing faintly as if breathing with a life of their own. The sight was breathtaking and terrifying all at once, a living testament to the oath Caelan was about to embrace. He stepped closer, the thorns reaching toward him like the claws of some ancient guardian, their sharpness promising pain and power entwined. Yet beneath the fear, a fierce resolve took root. This was the moment where past and future converged. The oath would be tested, and so would his spirit. As Caelan reached out to touch the dark bark, a shiver ran through him, the forest holding its breath. The journey was far from over, But beneath the blooming thorns, a new chapter of sacrifice and hope was beginning. And somewhere deep within, the first fragile buds of redemption stirred.